Now, folks, one thing we're going to note about PHP is that PHP itself is more or less a framework. Now, I keep using the term framework. What is a framework? A framework is sort of the foundation of which you build everything off of. We already have our own little HTML framework here where we open up CSS pages, we open up image pages, we open up JavaScript pages, we have folders that we go to, we have an index page that we start from, and from there it sort of branches off. The framework is anything that you build a website off of. PHP itself is kind of like C programming for the internet. If you ever did any kind of C programming, I did C++ in college. If you ever did C programming, you'll note that there are a lot of similarities. There are inclusions, there are opening up files and referencing files in each way. The way that it works is very much like C programming because everything is C programming, whether people want to admit it or not. But when it comes to PHP itself, you can put PHP anywhere on this page. You can make pages that are simply PHP, no HTML whatsoever, that they can run off of. Again, we're talking backend. They're not going to see anything you don't want them to see when it comes to PHP, and you don't have to comment anything out. Not only that, but you can bring files over to your website in order for you to be able to use things like classes or functions or whatever. Now, the way that you would open up anything that relates to PHP functionality or whatever, and you could do it anywhere in this entire document, but if you're doing something like on-page PHP, like anything that's on the actual page itself, the way that you start it, question mark PHP, the way that you end it, question mark greater than sign. Greater than sign, question mark PHP, question mark lowercase. This is how you open up your not lowercase, less than. This is how you, this is greater than. No, this is less than, it's, well, whatever the fuck. You see what I'm saying. One of the things that's how you open up and close PHP in the actual file or HTML document or whatever that you are sending out. When we go into backend, you only need the opening, but if you want the PHP area to end somewhere specifically, because if you don't put that in there, you got crap. You got this, and you're going to get a syntax error. That's the thing about PHP. The server is the compiler. So if you do something wrong, you're going to get an error. You're going to get a nasty looking error that says parse error, syntax error, unexpected, blah, 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 blah. So you have to make sure that you don't have people going to a page that's supposed to look like that. Instead, it looks like parse error, whatever. And trust me, I have seen professional websites that have had that issue. So, open, question mark, PHP, close, question mark, yada. Now you'll say, but wait a minute, didn't you just do greater than, question mark, equals? That's if you do what we're about to do now. There's always something, there's always a means that a programming language uses or utilizes in order for you to print something out. So if we wanted to print out a simple line, like we've done before, the command is echo. Once you see echo, you know that you are printing something out. You are going to tell the server, print this. So we can print out this, and with PHP, you end every single command line with a semicolon. If you forget the semicolon, it may not go nuts about echo, but if you're doing anything else, like you see it didn't go nuts with echo because it's just one line of printing stuff out, but get in the habit of doing that because we're going to be doing multi-line, multilateral things, and it's going to have commands and all this stuff. You're going to need semicolons to tell the compiler or the server, separate these lines. So get in the habit, even if you're just doing a simple echo this, get in the habit of putting a semicolon. Now, this looks like complete shit. We want it to be like HTML-y and stuff like that. Well, real simple. Within the quotes, you put in H1, close H1 like we've done a million times, and now it knows that it is a header. So it's more or less just like doing HTML. You can do a paragraph. You can echo things out in any way that you want with the HTML in there, as long as you're within these quotes and this echo and this PHP opening and closing area. You can put whatever you want, any HTML. Just make sure you do it right. Because if you forget like the closing P, it can screw everything up on your HTML. It doesn't look like much now because we didn't really say anything about it, but just make sure you just close your tags. Now, with echo, you can also concatenate certain things. Like you can say, like we've done with JavaScript, where we did the plus signs to add them. In PHP, concatenation is a period. Now this will put these two together. That's concatenation in PHP. A dot instead of a plus sign. But now there are other ways you can print things out. One is print R. And print R requires, it's a function. It's not just some kind of like reference, it's a function. So within print R, you can print stuff like this. And you get the same thing. There's also printf. Now, I've never really used printf. I think that's print file or something like that. It's the same, it looks the same, but I think it's if you want to print something robust. We can look it up, but I'll look it up later. But those, print R, printf, they are not really for one-line things. Print R, printf will give you the full format of something like an array, or something like a class, or something like an object or whatever. Print R and print R anyway, will give you the robust, total, complete, utter collection of information that you would put in, like, say, an array, like I said before. So if you wanted to see print R in action, we would have to make an array. Well, one of the great things about PHP is it's malleable, and by that I mean you can make it whatever the hell you want. So when it comes to variables, we don't have to declare variables. We don't have to say var or whatever. We can, we don't have to. The way PHP knows that you're using a variable, which again is an element that can hold a value, is you do plop $, and you give it a name. This. No, don't give it a name this. Give it a name that. And then now we want to assign it a value, and we can say equals this. And now we can print R that. It'll be the same thing. But if you wanted to make an array, you can say that equals, and then in parentheses, you can say this, that, t'other thing, and that. And now with print R, you're going to see array, 0 index, this, 1 index, that, 2, t'other thing. See, so now we see what the array looks like because we put it in a print R. If we just put echo, we're going to get a warning, array to string conversion, because echo only does string readouts. Print R does, and you see how it just comes out as array? Print R will give you the bare bones of what exactly you just put together. Now there's another way you can make an array in PHP. You can just go array and put parentheses like this. Same thing. But I don't see why. I mean, if you've got a lot going on, you might want to like index something as array so people know, oh yeah, that's an array. But I just do this. And again, if you're wondering what an array is a variable that can hold many values. But you know, we can go even further than that with an array within an array, but maybe I'll hold off on that for now. But like, no, I'll hold off on that for now. We'll just keep it the way it is. But the reason why this is important in PHP is because most of the time when you are taking data from one page and bringing it to another page, you're going to want to have variables that can hold many values, and you can print them out in a specific manner. So that's why you have arrays. Now, and that's why you have printr, so you can see it in its full glory and everything. So variables, arrays, and the means to print them out. Real simple. Nothing more that you need to do. You can have arrays with different values. Like you can do an integer here, and it doesn't really change anything. But there are functions that we're going to look at as we move along that will convert this. And when we get into it, you'll notice that there's a lot of similarity between other functions that we've used in JavaScript and stuff like that. But that's pretty much how you would make a PHP file, and you would fill it with like an array that prints things out, or just a variable that has like one value. And the way that this works when it comes to actually setting things in motion for your site is, remember what we did with this? Well, what do you say we get rid of this? Let's just get rid of that. And now let's change this to a .php. Okay. And while we're at it, where's my form? Do I have a form left? I don't have a form left. Okay. Oh, no, I do. Okay, this one. Let's change this to PHP. Whoops. No, that's fine. Okay. Now we're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna call this. We're gonna send this to localhost tutorial process.php. Let's get this on submit event prevent default out. Let's get this in type multi-part form that out. But let's say method equals post. And now, instead of IDs, let's give them names. Name, text place, username, name, username, and everything like that. Now, if we go to the process, we open this up. Actually, no, we don't have to close off this because this whole thing is just going to be PHP. Let's go to, did I have it right here? No, let's change that. Let's get rid of this. And let's change this to PHP. And let's change this to PHP. Okay. So now, if I come here, right? What I can do is if I hit the submit button, it's now in this form. Let's get rid of this. Oh yeah, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of all this crap. And let's put an input type equals submit, name equals send, value equals send. Okay. So now if I have this, it'll go to process. It says it's not found. Oh, because I put localhost. Okay, let me get rid of that. Oh, practice, my fault. Okay. It'll be a blank page because we didn't tell it to do anything. But there are variables that are pre-programmed in PHP, and one of them is post. And within that we go in quotes or single quotes, username. So now, if we were to go back and say this, we get CD the Bookman. We just saved in the post variable indexed username what we just sent. And then if we go echo br and concatenate with the dot post text place now when we send, you'll see both. And this is how you would process. Now you can then do something even more interesting. You can say username equals post username. Post is actually, it's more like an array, which is why we're indexing. We're telling it what index we're looking for. It saves whatever you posted to this index in the array. And we can say text equals post text place. And now we can echo username, concatenation br text. And what we'll get when we process it, oh, double check your spelling, proofread. What we get is we get the same thing because we gave our own variables, single valued variables. We gave our own variables, these post username, post text place, pre-programmed variables. And now we can process files and process forms so that when you input something like a username or a password, we can then send it to here. So when we come back tomorrow, I'm going to show you how to connect to your PHP-MyAdmin. We're going to make a database, and we're going to connect to the PHP-MyAdmin, and we're going to start uploading these variables into our database, and then we're going to see how to take it from the database and implement it into our site. So you get interactive sites where you're saving names, you're saving this, and then it becomes, unique to each user. So we'll get into that when I come back tomorrow. I'll see you then.